First off, if you don't watch the show Rebels, and in particular if you haven't seen the episode Twin Sons where Obi-Wan and Maul face off, you might be a bit lost, because the story that follows does put a twist on that episode. Now, before I get to it, let me suggest that even if you're not a fan of the show, or if you've never seen it before, you at least check out that one episode, because it's one of the best of the show so far. And without further ado, let's get into the story. Okay, so you're watching the Twin Sons episode of Rebels, and so far, everything has gone as usual. Maul has gone to Tatooine and lured Ezra there in an attempt to draw out Kenobi, and Kenobi and Ezra have then had their chat, where the old master tells the young Padawan that he should put his faith in his friends and return home. That's of course when Maul shows up, and Obi-Wan shoos away Ezra, who apparently listens for the first time ever. Maul then puts it together that Obi-Wan has come to this place to protect not someone, but something, forcing Obi-Wan to take action to end Maul and protect Luke. And that's when Maul attacks him, but only he doesn't fall into Obi-Wan's trap and go for the same move that allowed him to kill and defeat Qui-Gon so many years before. Instead, he feigns as if he's going to do it, and then swings low and slices Obi-Wan across the stomach, causing the old Jedi Master's eyes to go wide with shock and terror. Maul deactivates his saber as Obi-Wan drops his and slumps to the ground, ending up on his back in the sand, his hands over the wound across his stomach. Maul then stands over him, his expression cold yet pleased, and says, "Now tell me, was it the chosen one you protected here?" Obi-Wan ignores him and just stares off into the dark, starry night sky beyond. Maul then says, "We want the same thing, Kenobi. Now tell me where the chosen one is, and I will train them, and together we shall destroy the Sith." Obi-Wan then manages a slight smile. "I sent him away the moment I felt your presence. He's no doubt on the other side of the galaxy by now." Maul gives a broad smile. "No, I sense your fear. He's still here on this world. And know this before you die, Kenobi. I will tear this planet apart until I find him, and when I do, I shall show him the power of the darkness and make him my new apprentice." A voice then calls out from behind Maul, and we hear a saber ignite. "Done with me already?" we hear Ezra say as he stands there with his green saber in hand. Maul looks annoyed and ignites his saber. "You should have heeded the old man's warning, my former apprentice." Ezra shrugs and comments, "Yeah, I've never been too good at following instructions," and then proceeds to charge at Maul. For a good 15 seconds or so, Maul easily blocks and defends all of Ezra's attacks while making none of his own, clearly just toying with him. Finally he says, "And now time for my final lesson, my former apprentice," and he goes on the attack, and after only a few moments, manages to slice off Ezra's leg right above the knee. Ezra falls to the ground in a heap, screaming out in pain as he writhes around in agony. Maul plucks Ezra's drop saber out of the sand and looks it over casually while saying, "Do you feel it, my former apprentice? The hate, the anger, the suffering. Those are the only things that can save you now. Embrace them and endure, and crawl out of this desert and seek vengeance on the one who truly has failed you, Kanan Jarrus." Ezra screams back, "You're insane! The only one I'll come for is you!" Maul smiles as he turns and heads back towards Obi-Wan. "Pain and suffering can change one's perspective. We shall see how you feel about your master and his failed teachings, if you survive this." Maul reaches Obi-Wan, and his smile is quickly replaced by a look of rage. The old Jedi Master is dead, and much to your surprise, his body hasn't disappeared. Maul's head snaps back around, and he glares at Ezra, who is too worried about his injury and the pain it's causing him to even notice at the moment. Maul's hand holding Ezra's saber starts to quiver with anger. He ignites it and takes one step towards Ezra, but he stops, and the two lock eyes, but neither says a word. Instead, Maul just deactivates the saber and offers a grin before force pulling Obi-Wan's saber to him, and then he turns around and marches off into the darkness of the desert as Ezra screams out a pledge that he will come for him. The scene then shifts to Dagobah, and we get a shot of the outside of Yoda's little hut, and a moment later we're inside and get a close-up of the ancient Jedi Master's face, eyes shut, and he's clearly in deep meditation. Slowly then his eyes open, and reveal great sadness within. With a sigh he takes up his cane, and with his theme playing, we watch as he leaves his hut, makes his way through the swamp, and without hesitation, goes straight into the dark side cave. We're then back on Tatooine, and one of the suns is just peeking over the horizon and bringing a new day to the Lars homestead. We then see that Owen is already awake and tending to a moisture evaporator, when he suddenly stops and spins around, and standing there is a dark-robed figure. Owen tries to play it cool, but the fear is evident on his face. "I think you're lost, stranger," he says. The hooded figure comes closer, and we can clearly see the black and red face of Maul. Lost? No, I finally found my true destiny. Now tell me, where is he? Owen pretends to be confused. I'm the only he around here. It's just me and my wife. Maul looks annoyed. I have no interest in you or your wife. Just tell me where the Chosen One is, and I shall leave you two in peace. That statement brings a bit of confusion to Owen's face, and he seems to say without thinking, the Chosen One? Maul takes a few steps closer to Owen, and their two faces are inches apart. Maul studies him carefully for a moment and says, You truly have no idea, do you, of what he really is, the danger you have been in all this time. Owen shakes his head as if freeing himself from Maul's mental grip, and falls back a few steps and blurts out, No, we've known the truth all along. We know what his father became. A flicker of curiosity touches Maul's face, but he quickly hides it and again gets up into Owen's face. What did Kenobi tell you? Owen's face starts to tremble and flinch as he fights Maul's mental incursion, but it isn't long before he breaks and blurts out that his father fell to the dark side and became that monster. Maul says nothing. Instead, he gets even closer to Owen, and a smile starts to grow on his face. Vader, Anakin Skywalker, became my old master's new apprentice. Maul releases Owen, and he slumps to the ground, and that's when we hear a very familiar voice call out, Hey, get away from my uncle. And that's when we see Luke, not far off, holding a rifle and pointing it at Maul, who says, Ah, the Chosen One reveals himself. Maul makes a swiping motion with his hand, and the rifle is pulled from Luke's grip and ends up several feet away. Luke looks stunned and seems torn between running away and staying to help his uncle, who is now recovering from Maul's mind probe and yells out, Luke, run! Get away from him! Luke doesn't run, and instead he makes for the rifle, but Maul uses the Force again to take hold of it and flings it even further away as he starts to approach Luke. Owen again yells for Luke to run, but Luke only stands there and asks the approaching Maul, What are you? Maul gives his best friendly smile. I am your new master. Luke looks at him in utter confusion, yet slightly curious, and asks, My what? Maul stops not far from Luke and sighs and shakes his head as if he pities him. They've all lied to you, haven't they? Not a one of them, not Kenobi or this other old fool here, have told you who you really are, have they? We then see that Owen is up and giving Maul a wide berth as he makes his way towards Luke. Don't listen to him, Owen says as he reaches Luke's side. We need to go, he implores as he takes Luke's arm and tries to pull him back towards the homestead, but Luke doesn't budge. Maul smiles as Luke's face gets more and more confused and just a slight bit angry. My, you are strong with the Force. I can feel it, Maul comments. As for who I am, you can call me Old Master, and I shall teach you how to master the Force and how to become that which you were always meant to be. Uncle Owen? Luke then says, not taking his eyes off Maul. What's he talking about? What's going on here? Owen shakes his head. Don't listen to him. He's just some crazed stranger that's wandered in from out of the desert. Luke shakes his head and pulls his arm free from Owen. No, he's not. You know what he's talking about, don't you? I know you do. I can just tell. Luke takes a couple steps towards Maul. Tell me, what truth are you talking about? Before answering, Maul seems to give it a long moment of thought on just how to proceed. Finally, he says, Have you ever heard of the Jedi? Luke shakes his head, but then says, Well, my friend Biggs talks about them from time to time, but I'm pretty sure they're just a myth. Maul looks greatly saddened to hear that. No, those are lies spread by the Empire. The Jedi were real. Maul ignites Obi-Wan's blue saber, and Luke looks at it in wonderment. I am one of the last Jedi, Maul declares, and I have come here to take you away to be trained in their ways. He deactivates the saber and hands it in the direction of Luke. Here, this belonged to your father, who is one of the greatest Jedi there ever was, Anakin Skywalker. Luke reaches out for the saber, but Owen pulls his arm away and says, Luke, don't listen to any of this. He's lying to you. Maul, with a sympathetic look, then says, The boy deserves to know the truth. Tell him that you know the Jedi to be real, for his father used to be one. Luke turns and stares intently at Owen, and it only takes a few moments before Owen cracks. We couldn't tell you the truth. Obi-Wan told us to keep it a secret from you. And I don't know who this is, but he's no Jedi. Maul quickly interrupts, More lies. Everything you have told him was a lie. But that changes now, Luke. Maul again hands the saber in Luke's direction, and this time Owen doesn't stop him from taking it. Maul then declares, I shall see to it that you become a Jedi, and that you finish what your father failed to do, destroy the Sith. Luke then says, I don't understand. Maul nods. In time, I shall see to it that you do. The scene then shifts from the hot sands of Tatooine to the snowy peaks of Alderaan. and we get a shot of the home of Bail Organa before we're inside, and seated behind a desk and clearly preoccupied is none other than Bail Organa himself. Moments later, a young female aide of his enters, and with a bewildered look on her face, she says, "Pardon me, Senator, but there's someone here to see you." Bail looks confused. "I had no appointments this afternoon." The young aide shakes her head. He was very insistent, and for some reason security let him past. Or maybe he snuck past. He is pretty small. Bail rises to his feet, his face absolutely bewildered, for entering the room behind the aide is Master Yoda. Bail waves her away, and as soon as she's gone, Yoda says, his expression grave, "Come, the time has. Trained in the ways of the Force, your daughter must be." It takes Bail a few moments for him to regain his senses. "Trained?" he finally manages to say. "But I thought..." He stops and shakes his head. "I don't know what I thought. I guess I didn't think this day would ever come." Bail then walks out from behind his desk and begins to pace a bit as he says, "I don't know how she'll take all this. Are you sure she can even be trained? My wife and I haven't really seen signs." Yoda then speaks up. "Strong with the Force she is." Bail thinks for another moment and says, "What about the boy, Luke? Why not train him and leave Leia in hiding?" Yoda lowers his head and says grimly, "Gone he is." Bail lowers his head and the room is silent for some time. He then says, with the voice of a pleading father, "At least let her have a choice." Yoda thinks on it for a moment and finally nods. Her choice it will be. We're then back on Tatooine, and Luke is quickly packing some things in his room while Aunt Beru tries to plead with him not to go, that they need to talk about all this first. But Luke keeps shaking his head, telling her that they've had years to explain, and if they cared about him, they wouldn't have lied to him. He tells her that he always knew his place was out there somewhere, and that he could feel he was destined for more. In the end, Beru relents and tells him just be careful, and that they love him, and that they're sorry. We're then outside, and it's still early, but both suns are now up. We follow Luke as he walks along, and we hear the Force theme begin to play. He pauses atop a small sand dune, and we think he's looking out at the twin suns, just like he did in Episode 4. But only this time, he's actually watching Maul's Mandalorian ship land not far from where Maul stands, holding some type of device that apparently has let him remote pilot it to this location. Luke is about to head for it, but we hear Owen's voice come from behind. "I'm sorry, Luke," he says, "and remember, this will always be your home." Luke looks like he's about to turn and say something, but instead just heads for Maul's ship. When he reaches it, he asks, "Where to?" "Home," Maul replies, and then quickly clarifies, "My home, that is, Dathomir." Luke then admits he's never heard of it, but Maul assures him that it's the perfect place for his Jedi training to begin. And that's where part 1 ends. Well, that's all I got for you this time. If you enjoyed it and would like a part 2, let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to check out some of my other videos or go ahead and subscribe. If you've already done all that, then thanks for your continued support. If you want to know when I upload new videos, including part 2 of this perhaps, click the notification button or just follow me on Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching.